Honor the covenant that they made to me, and your relationship to me is same as that of Harun's to Musa. Imam Ali says, I asked the Holy Prophet, what will be my duty when the people betray me? He replied, if there is some to support you, fight the people and acquire your right. And if you have no supporter, ignore them and protect your life so that you may leave the world as a victim. Imam Ali added, I follow the example of 7 past prophets. First, Prophet Noah, when he said to his Lord, O Lord, I am one overpowered, do thou then help me. 54:10. Second, Prophet Ibrahim, who said, and I will withdraw from you in what you call on besides Allah. 19:48. Third, Prophet Lut, who said, would that I had power to suppress you or that I could betake myself to some powerful support. 11:80. Fourth, Prophet Yusuf, who said, my Lord, the prison house is dearer to me than that to which they invite me. 12:33. Fifth, Prophet Musa, who said, so I fled from you when I feared you. 26:21. Sixth, Prophet Harun, who said, son of my mother, surely the people reckoned me weak and had well nigh slain me. 7:150. Seventh, Prophet Muhammad when he escaped from the polytheists and took refuge in the cave. In light of these examples, Imam Ali observed a goodly patience in the face of hardships, and after attaining caliphate, he explained his views in the Shaykh sermon in these words. 12 But I was forced to bear this usurpation and turn my face away from the calamity. I was at crossroads. There were 2 alternatives before me, either to fight for my rights without supporters, or patiently endure the usurpation. The endurance was going to be so sad and of such a long duration that, during this period young men would become old, the old would lose their powers and the sincere people would leave the world unsuccessfully trying to improve the situation. After thought all consideration, I arrived at the conclusion that the wisest course for me was to face the disaster with patience and courage. I, therefore, bore it all patiently. 13. Imam Ali Rida was asked, why did Imam Ali led a life of seclusion for 25 years after the Holy Prophet, but waged wars after attaining caliphate? Imam replied, in doing so, Imam Ali followed the example of the Holy Prophet who allowed respite to the polytheists of Mecca for 14 years and 7 months, 13 years in Mecca and 19 months in Medina, and did not fight them. The reason the Holy Prophet did not fight during this period was the lack of support. In the same way, Imam Ali had to face lack of supporters to fight a war. When we study the Holy Quran, we find 2 types of verses. The first type recommends to the Holy Prophet to remain patient in the face of inconveniences that he had to suffer at the hands of the polytheists. For example, the Holy Quran says, but if you are patient, it will certainly be best for those who are patient. 16:126. And be patient, and your patience is not but by the assistance of Allah. 16:127. And bear patiently what they say. 73:10. Therefore, bear up patiently as did the apostles endowed with constancy bear up with patience. 46:35. So, wait patiently for the judgment of your Lord. 68:48. There are also other similar verses in which the Holy Prophet has been asked to observe patience in face of the offensive words of the polytheists. Another set of verses speaks of waging war. Fight them, Allah will punish them by your hands and bring them to disgrace and assist you against them and heal the hearts of a believing people. 9:14. So, when you meet in battle those who disbelieve, then smite the necks until when you have overcome them, then make them prisoners. 47:4. And be not slack so as to cry for peace, and you have the upper hand, and Allah is with you, and He will not bring your deeds to naught. 47:35. The verses in which patience is recommended were revealed at a time when the Prophet had few supporters and did not possess any army or weapons. There is no doubt that, at such a time, he should have remained patient, because when one is weak, fighting brings about results that are the opposite of one's goal and only encourages the enemy to proceed with confrontation and bloodshed. But when the Holy Prophet has acquired an army and strength, he was ordered to destroy the polytheists and purify the earth from their impurity. A close scrutiny of the above verses shows that patience in the face of the enemy is good at times, and undesirable at another. Furthermore, the error of the famous Orientalist, Ignaz Golgier also becomes clear. In his book Al-Aqidah wa Ash-Sharia, 14 Arabic translation 1946 he writes, "When Muhammad was in Mecca, he was spending his days in helplessness and patience, but when he reached Medina, he became the head of a military state. From the time Muhammad left Mecca, the circumstances changed, and it was no longer necessary to be lenient with the polytheists after Muhammad had been thinking of the hereafter, he suddenly became inclined to worldly desires. This historical policy of Islam shows that Islam is a warlike religion which does not conform to its early stages. This analysis of Golgier is erroneous. The prophethood of His Eminence, Muhammad acquired perfection at all stages without any contradiction, because when he was ordered to observe patience, it was because he did not possess strength and support and could not fight against the oppressors. But, when he gained strength, he waged an all-out war on them. This is neither surprising nor illogical, because if a person is in need of something and does not possess enough money to purchase it, he will wait till he saves the required amount. But, if even after accumulating that amount, he still does not purchase that item, it shows that he is miserly and prefers to keep himself in discomfort. The same is the case with the conduct of the Holy Prophet. When he was in Mecca, he did not fight against the polytheists because he did not have adequate army and arms. But when he gained power in Medina, he decided to face the polytheists and put a stop to their oppressions. 15. Safeguarding Islam. The new converts to Islam, in the beginning, were still shaky in their faith. And from the aspect of organization, they did not possess enough strength to face external attacks, especially when apostates 16 had revolted in different parts of Arabia. On one side, the Prophet organized an army under Usama ibn Zayd to fight the Romans before he breathed his last. On the other side, the Romans and Persians were waiting for an opportunity to attack the new Islamic State and destroy Islam. In such a delicate situation, if Imam Ali had fought against Abu Bakr to acquire the caliphate, the newly constructed edifice of Islam would have crumbled. In that event, the greatness of Islam would have vanished, and the standard of Islam would have fallen. Is it possible that a person who had fought for advancement of the religion of Allah and who secured dignity for Islam should himself take such steps by which the foundation of Islam is wrecked? Indeed, Imam Ali remained quiet to safeguard Islam and did not bring about a civil war. Such conduct was quite reasonable. Supposing someone owes you money but refuses to repay, and you know that if you force him for payment bloodshed would ensue, so you refrain from raising a dispute for the sake of peace. Imam Ali was not keen on acquiring political power. The Egyptian author, Professor Mahmoud Abbas Akkad, in his book, Fatimatus Zahra 17 writes, Ali was sure that he was entitled to caliphate, but he could not have revolted against the regime. It was for the society to rise up and demand for his right. This view of Akkad is consistent with the pious conduct of Imam Ali. Ali has himself said, "In my view, the value of your world is not more than the sneezing of a goat." A Gnostic has praised Imam Ali's piety in these words. In his view, the world was inferior to ashes placed before a gust of wind, and death was more welcome to him than drinking water at the time of intense thirst. When the value of the world before Imam Ali was such, the nature of his government becomes evident. Internal enemies. Imam Ali had many enemies amongst the Muslims whose fathers, brothers and relatives had been killed by his sword in various battles. If he had risen to recover his rights, they would have falsely accused him of creating disunity among Muslims and would have fought against him under the pretext of religion. So, he did not want to provide an opportunity to the internal enemies. Imam Ali says, "One who provides an excuse to his enemy to destroy his flesh, skin, bones and blood, commits a major sin and is an incapable person." Envious people. Among the enemies of Imam Ali, there were many who were envious of him. Khalil ibn Ahmad was asked, when the companions of the Holy Prophet were like brothers of one another, why was Ali like one who had no brother? Khalil replied, as Imam Ali had embraced Islam earlier than all others and was superior to them in nobility, wisdom, knowledge, forbearance and righteousness, they were envious of him, because people are inclined to those who are of the same kind as they are. When Musaylama ibn Numail was asked as to why they forsook Imam Ali although he was the best of them, he replied, because their eyes were not strong enough to see the brilliance of the son of Imamate. Abu al-Haytham ibn Tayhan, a prominent companion, said to Imam Ali, the Quraysh envy you for two reasons. Those who are good among them aspire to become your equals in the matter of honor and excellence. And those who are evil, their jealousy is because of their hard-heartedness and bad deeds. They observe that they are deprived of the greatness that is bestowed on you, so they are not prepared to support you. They wish to excel over you. I swear by Allah, their aim is a long one. When they were unable to compete with you, they did with you what you have seen. By Allah, you are most deserving to be thanked by Quraysh, because it was you that supported the Holy Prophet during his lifetime, and when he breathed his last you executed his will and repaid his debts. 1. Swear by Allah that the Quraysh have been unjust to Allah and have broken their covenant with him. Allah will take revenge on them. We, Ansar, support you with our hands and tongues. We will fight with our hands those enemies of yours who are present, and with our tongues those who are absent. When Muslims harbored enmity towards Imam Ali, with whose support could he fight and upon whom could he depend? On the contrary, the supporters of Abu Bakr displayed their strength to obtain oath of allegiance for him. Ibn Abul Hadid writes in his Sharh Naj al-Balagha, the group of Abu Bakr, Umar, Abu Ubaidah ibn al-Jarrah and other companions approached every person and without caring whether he was inclined to do allegiance to Abu Bakr or not, they grabbed his hand and put it on the hand of Abu Bakr. Ali Abdur Razak writes in Al-Islam wa al-Usul al-Hukam. Allegiance to Abu Bakr was obtained by force like modern governments obtain power by coercion. Since the government of Abu Bakr, like all governments of the world, depended on force and they were sure that Imam Ali would not fight against them, they compelled him to accept either of the two extremes. Fight or take the oath of allegiance. As Islam was likely to suffer less by his taking oath of allegiance, he gave allegiance to Abu Bakr. Development of the Shia faith. As we said before, the Shia faith came into existence at the time of the Holy Prophet, and some of the companions believed that Imam Ali was more deserving of caliphate than others. Therefore, Ali and his associates didn't give allegiance to Abu Bakr in the early stage. What mattered most to Imam Ali, was the safety of Islam and the well-being of the people. That is why he behaved with his opponents in a tolerant manner. Without any doubt, public finance was administered in a transparent manner during the reigns of Abu Bakr and Umar, and they did not accord preference to any relative of theirs in government affairs. There was thus no occasion for engineering a revolution. However, when Uthman, Bani Umayyah and Bani Abbas rulers deviated from the right path, and caliphate became rulership 18, it became necessary for Shias to fight and protest against the respective rulers and to confront them. Those who revolt against governments to gain political control do not say that they are fighting for the throne. They only claim that their struggle is for the reformation of society and protection of rights that these tyrant rulers have violated. From this aspect, during the rule of Abu Bakr and Umar, evils had not appeared so prominently, and rights had not been violated such that fighting might have become necessary. Hence during their time, campaign and criticism of Shias had no visible effect. But the evils of Uthman's rule finally led to his assassination. Laying short, the more the regimes of Bani Umayyah, Bani Abbas and others oppressed the people and encroached upon their rights, the louder was the voice of Shia protest. And they clamored more for justice and for the transfer of the political power to the family of Ali. Who can lead the Muslims? Shias believe that Imam Ali was specified by the Holy Prophet to be chosen for imamate. Therefore, his special qualities became the standard for Muslim rulers. All his life, Imam Ali never prostrated before idols and never associated anyone with Allah. During his entire life, he did not do anything wrong intentionally or otherwise. Hence, it is necessary that a leader of Muslims and a successor of the Prophet should be infallible like the Prophets. Regarding the necessity of infallibility for a leader of Muslims, Shias say, like the Prophets, the leaders of Muslims are defenders of Islam and enforcers of its laws. If it be Permissible for them to oppose the laws of Islam, they can neither defend Islam nor promote the laws which they themselves violate. To prove this point, Shias quote the verse, "And when his Lord tried Ibrahim with certain words, he fulfilled them. He said, surely, I will make you an imam of men." Ibrahim said, "And of my offspring. My covenant does not include the unjust," said he too. 124. According to this verse, oppressors and sinners who have disobeyed Allah even once in their lifetime are not eligible for the imamate and leadership of Muslims. Just as Imam Ali was superior to all other companions of the Prophet, it is necessary that a leader of the Muslims should be superior to all people of his time in respect of all good qualities, because, according to the dictates of reason and religion, a person who is superior from the point of view of wisdom and piety cannot obey those who are inferior to him in this regard. Allah says in the Quran, "Say, is there any of your associates who guides to the truth? Say, Allah guides to the truth. Is he then who guides to the truth more worthy to be followed, or he who himself does not go aright unless he is guided? What then is the matter with you? How do you judge?" 10:35. These qualities, which the Shia consider necessary for a leader of Muslims and for their imam, were not seen in any of the rulers and are peculiar only to Imam Ali, and his purified descendants imams. The first among them was appointed by the Holy Prophet, and each subsequent imam was nominated by his predecessor. In light of this, Shias do not formally recognize rulers who are not descendants of Imam Ali, and consider them usurpers of the rights of all al-Bayt, because this position had been specifically granted by the Almighty to the pure descendants of Imam Ali. Shias have always opposed such usurping rulers and have campaigned against them. If the Shias have been silent at some times, it does not mean that they acknowledge those rulers as legitimate. They have always maintained that usurpers have no right to rule. They have also always campaigned against rulers who did not fulfill the conditions of rulership, viz., specific nomination for rulership, infallibility and superiority. This clearly shows for what crime the Shias were killed, deprived and persecuted in every period of history. It also shows that the Shia campaign against the rulers was based on nothing but religion and faith. 1. The reasoning process in deriving Islamic laws. 2. Contemporary intellectuals who have accepted the Shia faith, like the author of Tajali, the respected Muhammad Tajani Samawi Tunisi, the author of Fareh, Salah al-Wardani Misri, and the author of Hakikat Gumshuda, Sheikh Motasim Saeed Ahmad Sadani, have presented detailed discussions of this matter. Urdu translations of all these books were published by Majma Ilmi Islami. 3. d. 875 AH. 4. This clarification is present in the books of all al-Sunnah. Comprehensive discussions of this matter can be found in these books. Shafi'i by Alam al-Huda Saeed Murtaza, Dalail as-Sid Q by Sayyid Muhammad Hassan Muzaffar, al-Murajat by Saeed Sharifuddin Musawi, Al-Ghadir by Allama Abu al-Husayn Amani, and Ayan ash-Shia by Saeed Mohsen Amin. 5. There were some scholars among Muslims who denied the principle of divine justice. According to them, the Almighty Allah is higher than these principles in his natural and legislative system. His acts and laws can never be restricted by any rule, and no law is fixed for them. Whatever Allah does is right and just, and not that he does only that which is rightful and just. In the same way, his laws are themselves justice, and not that his laws are made to follow justice. From this theory, those scholars concluded that there is nothing in the system that can prevent a righteous and good person from being punished in the hereafter, or prevent a terrible sinner, despite his mortal sins, from being rewarded with paradise. In the same way, there is nothing that prevents some people from being bestowed with all the bounties in this world while some others remain deprived, because justice and injustice are not real and rational concepts. They are only dependent on the Sharia. Whatever the Sharia commands is itself justice. Since the apparent aspect of this mode of thinking is that Sharia is not under the dictates of reason and law, people considered it to be an acknowledgement of the greatness and importance of Sharia, and since this way of thinking was favored by the people, very soon it gained acceptance and created a great wave in the Islamic world. Ostad Martyr Murtaza Mutahari, Sayings, pg. 382. 6. There is a very old saying. Divine justice and unity of Godhead are principles of the Alawites and fixed destiny, and making comparison Qiyas are principles of the Umayyads. 7. Tabari in his Tafsir and Ibn Kathir in al-Bidayah wa Nihaya have replaced the word brother, successor and caliph by so and so. Ibn Hisham also has written in his preface to his Surah, I have omitted in this book of mine sentences of Surah Ibn Ishaq that people do not like. In the same way, the Egyptian scholar Muhammad Hussein Haykal had quoted this tradition in full in the first edition of his book Hayat Muhammad on page 104, but in the second edition in 1325 AH this quotation was deleted. 8. Sahih Bukhari, Volume 6, pg. 408. 9. Some Orientalists and Western writers are of the opinion that Shi'ism came into being after the martyrdom of Imam Hussein, a. According to them, the martyrdom of Imam Hussein created a revolution in the thinking and views of the Shias, as a result of which they organized themselves, and Shi'ism appeared as a systematic faith. Prior to this, there was no organization among the Shias. Before the great martyrdom of Imam Hussein, the position of Shi'ism was of a political group, and the particular views of Shi'ism were not entrenched in the minds of the people and mixed in their blood. When Imam Hussein was martyred, Shi'ism began to run in the veins of the people and appeared as a straightforward faith, as the American scholar of Iranian descent, Rida Aslan, writes in his book No God But God, published by Random House Paperbacks, New York, on page 178. Put simply, the memory of Karbala was slowly transforming the Shi'ism of Ali from a political faction with the aim of restoring the leadership of the community to the family of the Prophet, into an utterly distinct religious sect in Islam. Shi'ism, a religion founded on the ideal of the righteous believer who, following in the footsteps of the martyrs at Karbala, willingly sacrifices himself in the struggle for justice against oppression. The author of Lawrence of Arabia and Arab scholar, Anthony Nulling, in his book, The Arabs, published by Mentor Books, New York, 1964, under the heading of Shia Revolt and Abbasid Decline on page 155, writes, the Shia movement had begun in Arabia at the time of the Prophet's death as a political party dedicated to placing Ali on the caliphate throne. From then until the death of Ali's son, Hussein, it was purely an Arab movement. But as the Umayyads' rigid class structure embittered the Mawali converts to Islam in the Persian East, the Shia saw their opportunity to broaden the base of their movement and to expand their numbers. Thus, the original partisans of Ali grew into an international movement, bent not only on restoring the Alids to the caliphate but also on staging a social revolution on behalf of the oppressed classes everywhere within the empire. 10. Volume 5, pg. 251. 11. The gist of the fiction of Saif ibn Umar is that Abdullah ibn Saba was about a Yemenite Jew who made a show of converting to Islam during the period of Uthman, while in fact he continued to conspire against Islam secretly. He roamed through Islamic centers like Syria, Kufa, Basra and Egypt and spread the propaganda that, like Prophet Jesus, Prophet Muhammad would also return. He also used to claim that every prophet had a successor, and the successor of Muhammad was Ali, and just as Prophet Muhammad was the seal of the prophets, Ali, is the seal of the successors. Also, that as Uthman had oppressed Ali and usurped his right, the people should rise and restore the rights to its owner. Under the influence of this propaganda, some Muslims rebelled and reached Medina, laid siege to Uthman's palace, and finally assassinated him. All this took place under the supervision of Sabanes. And also, that leaders of the two parties in Battle of Camel didn't want hostilities to take place, but the Sabanes concocted such a plot during the night that battle ensued, and it never became clear who had started the battle. Dr. Taha Hussein has denied the existence of Abdullah ibn Saba in his book, Al-Fitnat al-Kubra. The contemporary research scholar, Allama Saeed Murtaza Askari, in his book, Abdullah ibn Saba, has investigated and evaluated the subject thoroughly, but it is a matter of regret that the agents of imperialism and proponents of the restoration of caliphate continue to repeat the same old story of Abdullah ibn Saba. Dr. Israr Ahmad, in his column in the Jang Daily of Karachi dated 12 Rabiul Awwal 1429 AH, writes under the heading, Osmat-e Musrafa. Maghrib ka Gusrakana Rawaya. In this conspiracy, the Jews had the list, and their enmity was because the Holy Prophet was not from Bani Israel. While the Jews believed that prophethood was restricted to Bani Israel. After migration to Medina, the people of Medina removed Abdullah ibn Ubay, who had the support of the Jews, and made the Holy Prophet their leader. This struck like a bolt of lightning on the Jews. From that day, they made the personality of the Holy Prophet as the target of their conspiracies. After his departure, another Jew in the garb of Islam played a very important role in dividing the Islamic community. For the kind information of Dr. Israr Ahmad, it was not the fictional Abdullah ibn Saba who caused harm to Islam, it was the so-called scholars who connived with imperialism to deliver an effective strike on Islam. It is a saying of the Holy Prophet that 3 types of people are disasters for religion: a sinful scholar, an ignorant and foolish worshipper, and an oppressive ruler. The historical fact is that Sayf ibn Umar fabricated the fictional figure of Abdullah ibn Saba in the second half of the 2nd century of Hijrah, and exactly 120 years after that, it began to be propagated that Abdullah ibn Saba was the founder of Shi'ism. Apart from Sayf ibn Umar, no one else has mentioned this baseless story, and in every age, the existence of Abdullah ibn Saba has remained a question mark. May drive. Israr Ahmad, please explain to us why such an influential character of Abdullah ibn Saba, who effectively divided the Ummah and caused chaos and destruction, was not mentioned by any of the earliest historians of Islam. Why have scholars like Ibn Shihab Zuhri, Urwa ibn Zubair, Aban ibn Uthman, Abu Bakr ibn Hazm, Musa ibn Uqba and Waqidi not said anything about such an important figure? These were the same people who compiled history and traditions in the final period of Umayyads. If Abdullah ibn Saba had really existed, the greatest enemy of Imam Ali, Muawiyah and his party men, would have definitely mentioned it, because Muawiyah never missed any opportunity to defame Ali, and his supporters. How did this figure remain concealed from the people till the last period of the 2nd century? Sayf ibn Umar was the first writer to present this fictional figure along with his exploits in the second half of the 2nd century. Regarding Sayf ibn Umar, all scholars agree that he was a blatant liar, and in order to flatter the Abbasids he concocted many fictional stories. Thus, when he saw that the Alawites were becoming a challenge for Bani Abbas, he devised the imaginary tale of Abdullah ibn Saba, to discredit the former. 12. Naj al-Balagha, Sermon No. 7. 13. Fulfilling the bequest of the Messenger of Allah's Imam Ali, observed patience in every oppression, even when the agents of the regime dragged him forcefully from his house and took him to the mosque. Although the Imam was enraged, he remained faithful to the advice of his mentor and didn't pull out the sword, because he was neither weak nor cowardly. Just as the world once more witnessed the exploits of the Dufakar his sword 25 years later in the battles of Jamal, Siffin, and Nahrawan. At that time controlling his anger and sentiments was more difficult than facing Amr ibn Flatwad. Allama Saeed Murtaza Askari, Role of Imams in the Revival of Re-1 Volume 2. 14. Most probably the author was referring to Golzier's book Vorlesungen über den Islam. Its English translation, Introduction to Islamic Theology and Law, by Andres and Ruth Hamori, was published by Princeton University Press, 1981. Note of al-islam.org. 15. Greet Wilders of Holland also, like Golgier, considers Islam to be a warring faith. The Dutch legislator, who cannot differentiate between the general and conditional commands of the Quran, has equated the Quran with Mein Kampf by Hitler. He has also demanded a ban on its publication. He has also produced a film, Fitna, on this subject, in which he wants to portray Islam as a religion that incites violence and undemocratic behavior. This is absolutely false, as it is based on erroneous understanding of Quran. The Holy Quran itself says that it is cure and mercy for human beings. 16. Imam Ali was compelled to pay allegiance to Abu Bakr to remove the evil, because at this time some individuals outside Medina had made false claims to prophethood. For example, Musaylama al-Kazzab, during the last days of the Holy Prophet had claimed prophethood. After the passing away of the Prophet, there had been considerable increase in his notoriety. Ridiculing the Holy Quran, he had also composed some Arabic couplets and declared that there would be a prophet from his tribe and another from the Quraysh. That is why his community and tribe had accepted him as a prophet. Gradually he gained such influence that an army consisting of 40,000 mercenaries gathered around him. They could have launched an attack on Medina any time and destroyed the whole city. If, God forbid, they had succeeded in their dirty plan, they would have first of all martyred Imam Ali, Imam Hassan and Imam Hussein, and erased even the signs of the blessed grave of the Holy Prophet s. At that time not men made false claims of prophethood. Even a woman of Bani Tamim tribe, named Sajah, also claimed that she was a prophet. She had also gathered people around her by taking allegiance from them. In addition to these claimants to